We need to unite and work together if we're all going to get through this.
Sounds like socialism to me.
Democratic socialism.
What's the difference?
Huge difference.
Except that it's not. Here's Bernie Sanders when asked, describing democratic socialism.
And what democratic socialism is about is saying that it is immoral and wrong that the top 1/10 of 1% in this country own almost 90%, own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. You see every other major country providing health care to all people as a right, except the United States. Those are some of the principles that I believe in, and I think we should look to countries like Denmark, like Sweden, and Norway, and learn from what they have accomplished for their working people.
Okay, this is pivotal because there's a myth going around that democratic socialism is inherently different from traditional socialism. Bernie Sanders did not articulate a worldview there at all. He just pointed to things that have existed since the beginning of time, told you that you should be angry, that you deserve stuff, and presented you with a Christmas wish list. That's not a worldview, that's how you buy votes. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty, but the macro is first because we'll come back to reference this. Of the two worldviews, there is only one that allows and acknowledges human nature, and one that necessitates humans be inherently altruistic, particularly those in government with a D next to their name, completely immune to corruption. Whereas my worldview allows for the human nature of some people being good, some people being turd nuggets, and allowing them to make their own decisions, and the invisible hand of market forces to mitigate the damage, as opposed to the damage that can be done in a centralized power.
I'm your king. Well, I didn't vote for you. You don't vote for kings.
So right away, before we get into the nerdy math, and we will, you have to decide what it is that you believe. Because right away, the democratic socialists will try and poke holes in your argument.
What a lot of people may not realize is that America is kind of already a socialist country.
Some of the most obvious are things like Medicare and Social Security,
Free K-12 education,
national parks, prisons and the whole justice system,
the Postal Service,
disposal of your toilet waste.
even the Army are all socialist programs.
Leftists inevitably try and paint you to the corner that anything provided by government at all equates to socialism. And that comes back to the worldview. You need to understand what is the legitimate role of government, particularly in the United States. Honestly, have you ever asked yourself that fundamental question? Everything stems from it. Allow me to give you an analogy that my dad provided with me and I think is appropriate here. The role of the government, as per the documents that we have, is very similar to that of a hockey referee. Specifically hockey, you'll see why in a second. The job of a hockey referee is to ensure the safety of the players and ensure people are obeying the rules in a way that keeps the pace of the game. Keeping the players, i.e. the citizens, safe. That would mean that the military, some form of police force, is of course a legitimate role of government. Having regulations in place to ensure that people don't steal or screw other people, of course that's a legitimate role of government. Anything beyond that purview is considered incidental, and the referee in hockey keeps his whistle in his pocket. Also, there's a certain element of self-regulation to hockey not seen in other sports, which one can appreciate.
Two drop it as Spencer comes in and he goes down.
Contrast that with the European socialists in soccer. It's a very clearly defined role. The referee's job is not to pick winners, losers, high scorers, to provide medical assistance, to be a water boy or a cheerleader, or even to draft the teams. So I don't want to get too far off into the weeds, but I find it funny that democratic socialists use the post office as an example for success. The post office was awful until, surprise, FedEx provided competition. Overnight shipping, 2-day shipping, it didn't exist. It got there when it got there. You hoped. Also, before FedEx, tracking numbers didn't exist. That was your post office. You want to see government-run healthcare? Take that and add cancer. Again, when accounting for human nature, you want a decentralization of government power. This groundwork has to be laid here because it's pivotal that you understand the difference between your opinion, how you would like systems to work, versus how they are legally designed to operate. So to be fair, let's go to Democratic Socialists of America and their description of democratic socialism. Democratic Socialists believe that both the economy and society should be run democratically to meet public needs, not to make profits for a few. Now, right away, they say that because people hear democracy and believe that it's somehow inherently noble, and subconsciously delineates between socialism and democratic socialism. There is no difference. It's why Vladimir Lenin famously said, democracy is indispensable to socialism. So you may want those things, but right off the bat, the United States is not a democracy. It was never designed to be a democracy, and it will never be a democracy so long as the Constitution stands. The United States has always been a constitutional representative republic. Why, and how's it different? Because the founding fathers understood that for freedom to be maintained, it was pivotal that the rights of the minority were not entirely beholden to the ever-changing will of the majority. See, pure democracy sounds nice, but in reality, it's mob rule, which is why it inevitably collapses. Again, you're not accounting for human nature. If everyone has a vote, they're going to vote in their own self-interest, and the mob will vote to take stuff from the minority.
I want, me, mine, now.
Okay, let's go right back to the Democratic Socialists' own website. Democratic Socialists do not want to create an all-powerful government bureaucracy. Today, corporate executives who answer only to themselves and a few wealthy stockholders make basic economic decisions affecting millions of people. We believe that the workers and consumers who are affected by economic institutions should own and control them. Own and control them. And how are you going to do that, Democratic Socialists? Damn it. Important to note right off the bat, most businesses are not helmed by millionaires. Most of them are small businesses. By the way, who's most affected by said economic institution or business? Maybe instead of just the worker, could it possibly be, I don't know, the business owner who incurred all of the investment and risk? Yet according to the Democratic Socialists' own website, all of that control should be given over to the worker. Why? Because they said so. Who's going to do it? The government bureaucracy that they just promised wouldn't happen. Little known fact, it's going to be done at gunpoint. That's what government does. That's what taxes are. You give us this, or men with guns come and take you away. The goal of socialism is communism.